Oh, rain race.
Yo, what is up guys, and welcome back to another PSGL League Racing video. This is round 2 around the Circuit of the Americas. Last time around in Bahrain wasn't great, you know. We only picked up 2 points there, as you can see right there. But of course, today we're gonna try and do much better. You see, last time around Barry Borman won the race, Freddie Rasmussen P2, Lucas Blakely P3. So pretty much the usual guys who fight for the wins, but we want to be up there as well and climb our way back to the top, basically. Performance-wise, first of all, that's the first aim, but then championship-wise as well. So that's the aim today, to see if we have brought back performance in the setup, but also in the driving after last week. So that's the main goal for today. This is our first run of Q1. We're on our outlap now, and just mainly warming up the tires. Of course, as you guys know, on F1 22 it's a bit harder to warm up your tires, so that's our main aim on this outlap. Now, no lap set yet. Some people on the intermediates, but most people always go out. Basically, everyone always goes out around that 10-minute mark for their first run, and then later in Q1 they will go for their second run if they need it. It depends how good your first lap is, of course. If you put in an absolute stonking lap, then you don't need a second lap, basically, and in that way you can save a set of tires, so that's very handy for Q3. But after last week, I don't expect us to be able to do that just yet. It's gonna take time to find the performance back. John Evans 32.6, so he's the first one to finish a lap here in Q1, and now we're warming up our tires a last little bit. Especially the fronts are pretty hard to warm up, so now we're gonna start our lap here, opening the DRS wide exit there to carry as much speed as possible into turn 1. Uphill braking, it's a blind apex, so it's never easy to get this right, and easy to lock up the left front deeper into the corner as well. Fourth gear, quite a short shift there, and then flat out through this wall section until the point you have to lift right here. Could take it flat, but then this left hander gets very tight, which you have to open up, and it's just a big sacrifice. That wall section, you have to be smooth but carry as much speed as possible through every single corner without sacrificing the next corner coming up. Down to third gear then, important to get good rotation and then stabilize the rear end on that exit. We're gonna open the DRS and up to 8th gear, and this is where you have to make sacrifices for the setup. Of course, you need as much downforce as possible, but if you put on a lot of downforce, you're going to be really fast in that S section and in the last sector, but then you're going to be slow on the main straight and on this back straight we just finished into the final sector. Then Piotr Stachulek 32.185, and we're going to try and beat that. Of course, not going to be easy, as the rear tires are going to be dropping off in this last sector. Everyone will be struggling with that, and again comes back to the point of making sacrifices on your setup. Bit of understeer through that fast left hander. I'm gonna be going down to 4th gear, trying to avoid those sausage curves on the exit up to the line. It's a 32.225, puts us up to P2, but still a lot of people to finish their laps. And as you can see, we ended up in P7, I think. So as you can see, Barry Borman, Jake Benham, Danny Moreno, Simon Weigang, and Samuel Bean all have not set a lap yet, and we're down in P7. So not a great start, but it is much better than last week, that is for sure. So we had to go out again in Q1, and as you can see, we are a 10th up going into the final sector, 4 thousandths faster than Piotr Stachulek. Marcel Kiefer right ahead of us, and basically a lot of the time you can find is in this last sector on this track, as the last sector basically has the most corners. Maybe not the most corners, but it's the slowest part, and usually can make up a lot of time in the slow parts. Now into the final corner, you can see we're 2 tenths up, and that should see us go through into Q2, and that's already an improvement from last week, because last week we didn't make it this far, and as you can see there, Alvaro Carreton only did 1 lap. He did phenomenal. Lucas Blakely, who got pole last week, had to go out again as well, so he had to use 2 sets of tires, and that shows that every circuit is going to be completely different. I think the people that only had to use 1 set were Freddie Rasmussen, Barry Berman, Fabrizio Donoso maybe, and Alvaro Carreton. So we have done our first lap in Q2. We did it on a used set of tires because you have enough time for 3 runs in Q2, but you've not got enough tires to do 3 new sets in that session, and it's a bit useless as well because of the track evolution. Only the last 2 runs are valuable basically. Now, finishing a lap here, first new set of tire done, and it's P2 for now. I think still some people have to finish the lap. As you can see, Barry Berman jumps ahead of us, and quite a few people have invalidated. I think Alvaro Carreton has invalidated his lap. Yeah, but I think we have to go out again, which is not ideal, but it is what it is. We've dropped down to P7 now, here at the end of Q2, so this lap is probably pretty crucial. We're 1.4 tenths up, which is very solid. That should see us go close to P1. But into the final corner, you can see I cut the corner a little bit too much and invalidate my lap, even though we were a lot up. Luckily for us, it was enough, but that mistake could have been costly. I think if that's F1 Esports, that is us out. You can see we only made it
Carreton is out?
14 thousandths of a second. No, I'm saying that wrong. Anyway, 19 thousandths of a second, sorry, to Alvaro Carreton. So we go through by absolutely nothing basically. So we were lucky that we were not pushed out of Q2 there, and that we're going into Q3 now. But one issue we're facing now is because we're still lacking qualifying performance, we had to use 4 new sets of tires in Q1 and Q2. We will get an extra new set of softs available in Q3, but a lot of people still have 2 new sets of tires, because they either only did 1 run in Q1 or 1 run in Q2. So yeah, not ideal. And you can see there Fabrizio Donoso 131.856, which is on a new set of tires, as we have to do this first run in Q3 on a used set of tires, and that basically puts us on the back foot here in Q3. Quite a lot of people have new set of tires. You can see we're half a second off, and there's nothing we can do about that because of our used tires. You can see Freddie Rasmussen jumps to P1 with a 131.806. We are still P6, so that's not too bad, but this lap is crucial, because if we don't get this lap in, that means we're basically going to be starting P10, unless some people behind us doesn't get a lap in. But this one is going to be crucial if we want to get pole position here. Down to 3rd gear for turn 1, the pressure is on, and you can see instantly a 110 gain in turn 1, and we need to be able to do that in every single corner. We need to be able to make big gains if we want to be fighting for pole position here. Into the next right and a bit of understeer. You can see we run wide, and we're only 9 thousandths down on Barry, so that's a solid first sector, but it could have been better. It was not perfect. And up to 7th gear now into the next hairpin. This is such a crucial corner, because you need to carry as much minimum speed as possible, but then have such a good exit, because the straight is so long. DRS open, and you can see that 3.3 tenths. We are up on our previous lap. We've dropped down to P7 as Wilson goes to P5. And all the time people are just improving. We've dropped to P8 now as Joni Tormela jumps ahead of us. Brendan Lee, we're 600ths up on Brendan Lee. Barry Berman goes P1 with a 131.6. And we'll probably see even more improvement down the field. McLaren crossed the line. No one has managed to improve. And if we can keep this lap together, we might be fighting for pole position here. Down to 6th gear, I run a little bit wide, and that definitely cost us there. At least a 10th, down to 4th gear, up to the line. We're going to open the DRS, and it's a 131.773. Still 2 people to cross the line.
Oh, let's go,
and Thomas
P4
goes to a pole position. Freddie Rasmussen jumps ahead of us as well, and we are P4, which is solid. I'm happy with that. after last week. And even though it's definitely not fast enough yet, we are closing the gap to the fastest guys on this game. But now you can see there,
Really wet.
wet race, and starting in P4 in changeable conditions gives us a chance to fight for the win here today. And that's what we're going to be trying to do. I'm just trying to figure out what the strategy is going to be like. I decided to start on the wets. Some people will be starting on inters, but I decided I felt better with full wets. I think Fabrizio Donoso in P7 is going to be starting on the inters, and some people behind as well, because they don't have much to lose anyway if you're starting to the back of the grid. So we're lining up on the grid now, and this start is going to be important because it's not easy to overtake in full wet conditions. You don't have DRS, and we need to make moves early on if we want to be fighting for the win here today. We cannot get stuck behind anyone, so lights are going to be going on here. It's going to be 5 red lights as the sound crackles a little bit, and it lights out, and away we go for round 2 of PSGL. We get a much better start than Freddy Rasmussen. Matthijs behind us get a brilliant start as well. We cover off the inside, and we're going to be going down the inside of Freddy Rasmussen. We decide to keep it tight on this exit to give Freddy the space on that exit. We have got so much more clean air there on the outside, and we manage to gain 1 position here on the start, which is crucial. It's not easy to overtake, as I said, and especially Freddy Rasmussen, who usually is very fast in these conditions. So it was crucial we got ahead. Now Thomas seems to be struggling a little bit there through that section, trying to keep the backhand stable, but we manage to still follow him pretty well, even though the dirty air is a lot harder on this game. Probably a lot more realistic compared to real life now. Even though in real life the dirty air has decreased, on the game it increased, because basically last year there was no dirty air at all. And even though it has decreased in real life, it had to be increased on the game, simply because, you know, there was absolutely no dirty air. You can see under braking I'm struggling a little bit because the front downforce is just not there, but you can see we're right with Thomas now, and back to the fight we go. It looks like soon we will have an opportunity somewhere, because Thomas just doesn't seem very comfortable in these conditions, and struggling. You can see Barry losing the backhand as well. Thomas still struggling with the backhand, and we're gonna try and have a little look here. Not really an overtaking opportunity just yet, as my backhand wants to step out as well, and this exit is going to be crucial. Thomas has run wide, and this is going to give us the opportunity into turn 1. Surely we're going to turn on the overtake button and have a little look into turn 1, and now we can start hunting down Barry Boromant. Of course, he's an incredibly fast driver. He tends to struggle a little bit in wet conditions, so you know, as everyone remember Jeddah last season in PSGL, we absolutely dominated that race, but of course this is a completely different game, different handling, different physics. But even with that overtake on Thomas, we managed to set a fast lap of the race, and we basically did that every single lap. Freddy Rasmussen has retired. I think he has soundbox, so he decided to retire, and as you can see, every single lap we just keep putting in personal best after personal best, and fastest lap as well. No one was matching us, and Barry's got solid pace as well. You can see how much we have extended the gap to everyone behind us. The gap to P5, almost 10 seconds, as now it's time for intermediates, and it's going to be interesting to see where we come out. Some people have started on the intermediates, so they will be a threat once we come out of pits. Thomas now 4 seconds behind us.
Okay, you're doing well out there. Keep it up. We're looking at about 10 more minutes of rain. 10 minutes.
As you can just hear me ask for information towards Jeff. We're 8 tenths behind Barry, and we decide to go into the box for a brand new set of intermediates. Of course, need to make sure not to speed into the pit lane and get the turn in right for the pit stop purple. So this is going to be a perfect pit stop. 2.2 and out we go. I think.
How did he get held so bad? His car lifted. That's mad. His car completely lifted because I was driving out of the box. It's crazy.
Now looking back at it, I'm not sure if that was the case. I haven't asked Thomas if it was the case, but I think his car lifted because my car was coming out, which shouldn't happen, of course. It's a bit ridiculous, but maybe it didn't. Because he coming out of the pits, he did lose a second, so I'm not sure actually what happened there. But now back to the race. You can see there Danny Moreno ahead of us, our teammate, who started in last place. He didn't qualify. I don't know why.
2 seconds almost because of that.
Because see, through the S's we're already gaining so much time to Danny, and it just shows the intermediates are ready. None of the people who started on inters are ahead of us. You can see Fabrizio Donoso 5 seconds behind us. So we have gained quite a bit of time going for full wets at the start. I think the last game it would have worked, as you guys might know from F1 Esports China, but of course it's a different game again. It's gonna work in different ways. So now we have to push as hard as we can to undercut Barry Berman. You can see Danny Moreno has lost 1.7 seconds on this lap alone, but he does have traffic ahead of him. Lucas Blakely on the wets, which is gonna be quite a bit in trouble, I think so, because Barry is gonna box on this lap, and usually you can't box on the same lap, so that's gonna be quite a struggle for him, because he already lost 2 seconds on this lap, and it's only gonna be getting drier, so the time loss is gonna be quite exponential. As Barry has boxed, our teammate Danny Moreno boxing as well. John Evans has left the session, and now this is where we will find out if our undercut has worked. Coming across the line, it's a 2:06.8, and that's a very fast outlap. You can see we are ahead of Barry Berman by 1.2 seconds, I think so. A lot of people setting purples on this lap, which shows we have boxed on the perfect lap. We've gained 2.2 seconds basically to Barry there. As Lucas Blakely still out, and that's what I said. He is struggling right now because he had to stay out that extra lap. I think me and Danny had the same last year in F1 Esports around Austria, where we couldn't box both on the same lap, and that just screwed him over basically, and destroyed the potential 1-2. I think Lucas also had a little glitch with his MFD where he couldn't select intermediates, so he's gonna box this lap to another set of wets, which is just absolutely heartbreaking. Because yeah, then your race is completely ruined. He of course lost a lot of time not boxing on the right lap, and then also having to stay out longer, and then boxing for a set of wets, so then your race is basically over. But now you can see in the coming laps we were absolutely on it. On this lap I think someone did manage to beat our fastest lap. I think it was Brendan. Brendan is always very fast in wet conditions as well. He's a 2-time F1 Esports champion for a reason. But after that, we were just in such a good flow. We were putting in fastest lap after fastest lap. Some laps gaining 6/10 to Barry, and sometimes you can see there, we gained over a second on that lap. So we were absolutely flying in these intermediate conditions, extending the gap to 7 seconds. And Thomas Ronard, you can see 11.2 seconds behind us. So we absolutely nailed this intermediate stint. But now it is drying up, and we will have to switch to slicks at some point. So that's going to be an interesting one. We will have to nail the timing again, because if we box on the wrong lap, you can see our teammate Danny Moreno boxing for slicks. I think that might have been the right call, but if you go on slicks and they don't work, you lose so much time. And because I had the margin, I didn't want to take that risk, and I just decided the risk-reward ratio was not worth it. If I box, it might work, but we still might be in traffic, and overtaking cars on slicks is not easy in drying conditions. So I decided I stay out one more lap. Maybe we lose 1 or 2 seconds to some people, but in the end Barry stayed out as well, and he will have to box of course on this lap as well, because now it's clearly dry enough for slicks. And yeah, I basically could see I was overheating a little bit, I think so as well. So On this lap we haven't gained actually to Barry. I think that's the first time since we first lap of this race we didn't gain time to Barry. And you can see backhand steps out, and that was a very sketchy moment. And that was the confirmation we have to box for slicks. I decided to go for a set of mediums because I didn't have any new softs left. But I think some people did go for softs. And honestly, it is the right choice probably to go for softs, but it is pretty sketchy towards the end. The soft tire is so high. So on to mediums we go. I expected Barry for some reason to go for
Might
softs.
start on the mediums in the first few laps. Wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people go for softs, but I don't have any new softs left, so.
So as you can hear me say there, we got another perfect pit stop. Barry did set a fast lap there, and that's what I said. We didn't have a really good in lap. We lost quite a bit of time, I think so.
There's absolutely
Now,
no good.
out of the box, cold tires, of course. And as you can see, I'm struggling quite a bit. I'm a bit careful as well. And I think the issue with being careful is that you create less heat, which then loses you even more time again. So I think my approach might have been a bit wrong here by being very careful. Of course, we have that huge margin of 7 seconds, but it's coming down so incredibly fast. We've already lost over a second in just one sector. So yeah, my outlap here was terrible, and the next few laps were not great as well. And I don't know why. I think I might have just been too careful. But yeah, it is what it is. We're basically losing time, not just to Barry, but also to Thomas, Fabrizio, and Brandon Lee. So those laps were not great. From my side, you can see still, we're almost a lap into this stint, and I'm still losing time, still struggling for tire temperature. So yeah, not my finest few laps of this race. I would have loved it to stay wet and extend our gap even more, because I think it was obvious we were by far the fastest in those wet conditions. Like pretty much usual, I think we are probably the best in the wet together with Brendan, I think so. Brendan is usually incredibly fast in the wet as well. But luckily, the time gain from Barry stagnated a little bit. He gained 2 seconds on the outlap, and then I think another 1 second the lap after. But as you can see now, 2 or 3 laps further into the stint, and he only gained 4 or 5 tenths. So it's obvious he was faster in the dry here. As I'm raging from an AI that's giving me dirty air. But yeah, we stopped losing time to Thomas Fabrizio pretty much deeper into the stint, so it was really just about those first few laps on a drying track, where I think I was just too careful, but we had the opportunity to be careful. There was no need to take a risk. Of course, it's so easy to spin these cars on this game, especially in drying conditions on cold tires, so I had that in the back of my mind, and probably took it too careful. Lost a lot of time, but we could afford it, and we managed the risk. So 1.3 seconds to get. Barry got another DRS, that's why he gained so much on that straight. But yeah, he got the DRS from that AI car. Now into the final sector of this race. After last week, this feels really good to be going home with 16 points after not an easy race, many changeable conditions. We were not the fastest today in dry conditions, but we were clearly the fastest in these rainy conditions, and we're gonna be getting our first win on F122 in league racing. And 16 points, we're closing the gap now to Barry, who's leading the championship. Of course, after last week, I knew something had to change on basically every aspect, race pace, qualifying pace especially, of course. But I think we've closed the gap quite a bit, and I think we've done a good job. Marcel Kiefer going to be coming home in P6, Wilson Huge P7, Joni Tomola P8, Jake Benham P9, and then our teammate Danny Moreno, after starting P20 in P11. I think it's a bit of a team thing to finish P11, but maybe he might get P10 or P9 after PSGL penalties that have not been awarded yet. They, I think, will be awarded tomorrow. But anyway, our first win of the season confirmed here. Hope you guys enjoyed this much better league race, PSGL round 2. Make sure to like and subscribe for more league racing content. And I won't be there next week because I'm traveling to Abu Dhabi for the VTNR finals. So I will miss round 3 of PSGL, which is a little bit of a hit in the championship probably, depending on how everyone performs there. But we just have to deal with it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like, subscribe for more, and see you guys next time. Ciao.